No one in the history of esports has had a posture quite as polarizing as JDM.
It's a 1 versus 4 AWP. Push out, good shot, JDM. Looks for another, he's got this down to a 1 versus 2. Overcommitment and perhaps a little bit zealous to try and early end this. And another is Kenny gets taken down to the box. What is that from JDM?
No matter how many heads JDM clicked, all everyone could talk about was the way he sat in his chair.
No one can play like that. And I still believe that. It's really awkward to look at. His feet are like propped up, so he's almost like horizontal.
Okay, so first, yeah, you gotta get the rocking going. That's like the first thing. Let's see here. All right, we're pretty good right here. Yeah, this is it right here.
But is JDM's posture actually as bad as it looks? And does having good posture make you better at video games? Alright, so before we get into the video, why don't you sit back, relax, slap that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos. Okay, so it's safe to say that some gamers are very particular about the way they play. From the tilt of their keyboard, to the position of their mouse pad, or the distance between their nose and monitor, comfort and familiarity are key for a lot of players' performance.
All of you guys are wrong. The answer is Moses' head because it was 17.8 centimeters.
Sitting with your face pressed up against your monitor is pretty standard within the TAC FPS community right now. But back in the day, one player had everyone scratching their heads because he looked just a little too comfortable. Josh JDM Marzano is a former professional CSGO opper who was known for literally lounging while popping heads in the server.
JDM, AWP on site, we know he can step up. Gotta find RPK first, can't hit the shot. Getting pincered from both sides now. It's gonna be screamed shortly to finish things off, but it's a no-scope! And it's 2 of them to win the round as well!
And CS right now.
Well, JDM chiming in for the first one, but oh my god, JDM with the double no-scope destroys Twist and Sean!
I started when I was a baby in my crib, but been lounging ever since.
JDM's posture was so ridiculous that it inspired a ton of memes within the Counter-Strike community over the years, and eventually it became a big part of his brand.
Damn it! Hey, don't worry, dude. Don't get tilted. 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 Tilted.
Ah, yes, that's right. Josh Marzano. JDM, is it? Yes, sir. Don't worry. Chopper's on the way. It'll be on the ground in 20 minutes. You need your ass in the show match, bud.
But JDM's posture has also left some people, including his former teammates, questioning whether or not it's good for his long-term health.
Yeah, when I saw JDM lounging, I was a little worried for our team in general.
No one can play like that. And I still believe that. It's really awkward to look at. His feet are like propped up, so he's almost like horizontal.
Now, part of the issue could stem from the fact that racing-style chairs are used at practically every esports event, even though they don't exactly provide much back support. This is something we covered in our video about gaming chairs earlier this year. But your chair isn't the only thing that affects your performance. A few years ago, former Counter-Strike pro and coach Ron Rambo Kim released a video about how the position of your table and chair affects your aim. And here's what he had to say.
Let's say you have a chair that's too low, or a table that's too high. You are now forced to either shrug your shoulder upwards, lean your body sideways, and/or disconnect and raise your elbow higher. If your table is too low, or your chair is too high, you'll have to hunch your back and shoulders and lean forward into a bad posture position, or the opposite, where you'll have to lean backwards.
Now, obviously, we all know that JDM did, in fact, lean backwards, but Rambo spoke about JDM's posture in a separate video.
And no, this is not a pregame photo. This is actually how he sits for all his matches. Again, another player who got used to sitting a certain way and stuck with it all the way to the professional level. If JDM asked me for any coaching tips on the way he sits or try to help him to get better at aiming, I wouldn't tell him a single thing, because he got to the pro level with these positions and if I asked him to change, I guarantee he would play worse.
Now, when Rambo says that he wouldn't tell JDM to change his posture, he is of course speaking from a performance standpoint. But it doesn't take an ergonomics expert to tell you that JDM's posture probably isn't very good for his long-term health. But luckily, we just so happen to know one. Garrick Foreman is a PhD candidate at Brock University, specializing in neuromechanics and ergonomics. You may remember him from past episodes of Cracked, and we brought him back to ask him about JDM's posture.
It's an interesting posture, and it's not something that I would expect to see from a pro. It was surprising to me to see him, kind of tilted way back, kind of the opposite you would think for a lot of people, slouching when gaming, leaning back a bit more of a relaxed posture. I do still see a bit of craning in the neck, so I would expect that to be an issue long-term, is some neck pain. As well as some low back issues, because when we start to slouch, we put our spine into flexion, which is not typically where we want the low back to be. It's designed to be relatively flat or a little bit extended based on their vertebrae and the discs.
As we've seen the idea of a proper gaming posture develop over the years, more and more players have actually pushed their bodies in the other direction, slouching closer and closer towards their monitors. But similar to JDM, this too can have an adverse effect on your body down the line, especially when it comes to how hard it is on your neck muscles.
When people have neck fatigue or neck pain, they've been shown to be very similar. So just playing through the day or 8 to 10 hours of practice for a lot of these esports athletes, your neck will start to become fatigued, because I know a lot of them are leaning far forward to get really close to the screen, really fatigues those muscles. So that results in decreased proprioception at the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist joint. So that ultimately then leads to your body is not really responding how you think it is. And when you are moving to a spot, like let's say you're moving towards the right with your cursor, your body might not get to the point that you want it to, because you're lacking that proprioceptive ability to tell where your joints are.
Now, throughout his career, JDM truly was an anomaly. Nobody lounged quite like he did, and nobody understood how he could compete at the highest level of play while looking like he was ready to take a nap in his chair. But what we wanted to know was whether or not there was actually a correlation between gaming posture and performance in the server. Unfortunately, there just isn't a ton of research out there that looks into how sitting position could potentially affect performance in video games. But Garrick did notice some trends while conducting some of his own work.
I actually just finished a study that was looking at competitive Valorant players and kind of looked at high-ranked players versus low-ranked players, just to see if there was anything different in terms of performance. And we found that high-ranked players had the monitor position significantly closer to their face and were in probably, in my opinion, much better postures, more upright, more neutral. They really set up their workstation to, give them the best advantage, best position to play their game, whereas lower ranked players had the monitor a little bit further forward. They leaned further forward with their upper body. Their neck was tilted forward. So they just, as a whole, had worse postures.
Funnily enough, even JDM has come around over the years and worked towards the more neutral posture of many modern day competitors. Although it likely took time for him to get adjusted to his new seating position, it was definitely a good decision for the long run. And I'm sure there are some of you out there who are watching this video and thinking that perhaps it's time to investigate your own posture. But how do you break habits that you've been forming over years, even decades?
And now, the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
All right, I'm not exactly an expert when it comes to perfect posture, but I do have some tips that can help you get started if you're trying to improve yours. And let's be real, these all came from Garrick anyway. First up, try setting a timer on your phone for 5 or 10 minutes and really focus on sitting in a neutral position until the timer goes off. Once it does, you can get up, maybe walk around your room, stretch if you need to, and sit back down. If you're wondering if your posture is neutral, here's some key things to check. Is your head leaning forwards or backwards? Are the muscles in your neck relaxed? Are your shoulders flexed in towards your neck? And is your back in a relatively straight line from your head to your hips with some sort of lumbar arch support? As you get more and more used to sitting up straight, you can gradually start to increase that timer and then just rinse and repeat. The goal of all this is to help your body get used to sitting in a neutral posture without putting too much strain on your back or the other muscles in your body. Obviously, we're all different, so this might be a quick process or it could take a while. Just use your best judgment because you know your body better than anyone.
So I just recommend a slow build for anybody who wants to improve their posture. For someone who sits a lot, I would say it probably would take a few weeks, maybe a month until you're a bit more comfortable with it, because you don't want to go all in. It's just like if you haven't been working out at the gym very much and you go in and you do, 20 sets of squats, 20 sets of deadlifts, you're not gonna be able to walk the next day. And you might never try it again.
We often don't think about the impact that sitting can have on the muscles in our body because, well, it's just sitting. But some well-directed exercise can actually have a huge impact if you, like me, spend a lot of your time sitting at your desk. I may be the poster child of never going to the gym, but we're not talking about Schwarzenegger-level workouts here. Low impact and mostly bodyweight exercise, focusing on areas like your lower back, core, shoulders, chest, and neck, can help your body hold a healthy posture for longer periods with less fatigue in your muscles. This isn't a workout channel, obviously, so I recommend that you turn to some other experts if you're looking for specific exercises to do. But always remember that your form is way more important than doing a million reps or lifting heavier and heavier weights. And always remember to stretch, because flexibility is just as important as strength here. Want proof you should get a little sweat in if you want to hit gold more comfortably? Look no further than the massive investment esports teams have made into physical trainers. It's pretty clear if you want to play your best, you can't ignore your body. As we've said throughout this episode, poor posture can have long-lasting negative effects on your body, but it's never too late to make a change. If you're guilty of slouching or leaning a little too far back, maybe it's time to give some of these exercises a try.
And that was the guy who actually knows what he's talking about.
So, there you go. Posture is, as it turns out, a pretty complex subject, and it's something that requires still a ton of research when it comes to esports. But who knows if we'd even be talking about it today without competitors like JDM. He was doing something that no other player could even fathom, reclining while hitting op shots on some of CSGO's biggest stages. And although he has since learned to sit up straight, we will always fondly remember Lounge Nation.
Lounging is life. If you're not lounging, you're not trying.
You gotta get some Flash in there, Sam. Get some Flash. Just type in Flash ruler into Google. Flash, the famous StarCraft pro, used to measure the distance between his mousepad and keyboard at competition with a literal ruler. Very famous thing Flash used to do before any of these esports players were like with that level of regimentation.